Hello folks, just a short message from me. Today's video will be a build with me session. This is on the popular note-taking application Craft. But before we begin, today's video is kindly sponsored by ClickUp. Here's a little bit more about them. So this month's sponsor on Keep Productive is ClickUp. And if you haven't heard of ClickUp already, it's a powerful productivity platform designed to be the one place for all your work. Now, it's great to have them back on as a sponsor to Keep Productive, and ClickUp has over 200,000 teams using them to get organised and handle everything from to-do lists to resource management. Now, with the ability to change views, ClickUp offers a flexible way for teams to design their own workspaces to get things done, and with a huge host of integrations, they can connect with tools they're already using. Most recently, they've added the ability to email externally inside of ClickUp without leaving the workspace. Now, ClickUp are offering an exciting discount off their business and enterprise plans. You can find out a little bit more below, and thank you guys again for coming on, and do check them out in the description below. Anyway guys, thank you very much. Talk soon. Hello folks, and welcome back to the Craft course. Now, what I want to do with this video is a little bit of like a build with me so that you guys could potentially follow along. Maybe you want to build a homepage on the likes of Craft. This will hopefully show you how to do that. Now, as you can imagine, we built this sort of CV on Craft. You can build like this home dashboard. I want to go through how I would build it. You can follow along if you want to as some inspiration. And naturally what we're going to do is probably create like a tasks area. Obviously you won't have the abilities you would in such applications like Todoist or Things3 or TickTick. Obviously it's not a task manager, but if you're looking for sort of basic tasks, this could be good. Then we're going to create a notes area and a general pages area that might be helpful. So to start, I'd start with an emoji is always a good point. Let's add the home emoji here. Now, before we move in, we'll go to page details. Now, this is where you might want to set things like the default font, having a cover photo, in which we will have, and whether you want to knock the title off, but in this case, probably because it's a homepage, we'll keep it. You can choose whether you want to change the block spacing to classic or move it to wide. In this case, regular is quite suitable for our layout. Now, what I'm going to do is actually add an image that was taken from Unsplash, but I've cropped it down to be a little bit thinner. If you were to do a full page, let me just demonstrate it. If you were to do a full page one that came from Unsplash, you can see that although it does have a limit to how much it can go down, it can take up more space. So that's the reason that if you wanted to add, say, a family photo or something, you might want to have it a little bit slimmer. And just to note as well, Unsplash images have the source in the bottom right hand corner, which is fine if you're happy with that, but just a minor detail if you're worrying about that. So in this case, when we start, we might want to add, say, you know, good morning, Francesco, maybe a nice welcome message, because you may be opening this every single day. And let's just add the sun. And what I might want to do is just add this as a subtitle or a heading. Heading looks quite nice. Now, in order to get started, let's create an area called tasks. We'll also create one called notes and pages. So what I'm going to do is actually select all three of them. I'm going to go to cards, and I'm going to create all three of these at the same time into cards. And we're going to create a nice sort of classy look. Should we create it? Yeah, let's create a modern sort of look here with a similar background. So you can add a custom image when you're inside of the premium account. So if I wanted to add this one to follow suit with the design at the top, then you can do. So if I press apply, you can see here that comes up pretty neat. But maybe I wanted to modify this a little bit more. You can press card again. And okay, I'm going to go with this one because that looks a little bit neater in terms of your setup. Now, because I've created these pages, I'm going to add emojis to them just because it makes it look a little bit neater. And especially when you're in the pages, it's helpful when looking up at the breadcrumbs in the top left-hand corner if you haven't yet. So I'm going to just add one more emoji here just to add a little bit more spice. So if we go back here, so what's going to happen here is obviously I'm going to have my tasks, my notes and things like that. There aren't any sort of advanced like ways that you can bring in databases and things like that. I might do some block referencing widgets. So let's just make a note to show you widgets down here that you could create. Again, that's probably something that isn't necessarily necessary. We'll just experiment with that in a bit. So in this case, I'm going to create a focus decoration on the side and maybe put it in dark green and just say this area is for all my weekly tasks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a section called this week and next week. And just below it, I'll create an area called projects. Now, because they're all going to be similar sized headings, what I'll do is I'll select them all and put them as a subtitle here or a title, make them a little bit bigger. And then what I'll do is I will go ahead and highlight them in green. So I don't know, just might make it look a little bit neater. I'm just giving you sort of full examples of how this could look. Craft doesn't have any sort of templatizing abilities. I'm sure they'll be adding it very soon, but for now they don't have any. That emoji didn't bring forward. So if you add an emoji outside the highlighted space, it won't bring it along. There we go. But that's quite nice because if I wanted to start a header, then I can do that there. So you can see that's quite a nice little bit of separation there. So what I could do is just, below add these simple checklists, or I could use the actual checklist item or toggles. Toggles could be helpful. So for example, in this case, I might say, edit list of YouTube. And below it, I could start with, llama life, or even add, etc. So you can start to see a task list of being created. And if I wanted to go into detail on a specific one, say I wanted like llama life to have a page where I could make notes about like, this is a new Pomodoro app to check out. Say I was writing a script or even a detailed note, you can see there that it's automatically giving a preview of that, which is quite nice as well. But I can actually turn that into a page if I want to, and the page looks quite nice too. So you can start to see that it's got some nice interactive elements. Now below here, if I wanted to, I could create different projects. So for example, if I was like, okay, the project could be boost YouTube views to 1 million per month. Something pretty tough. I could create that into a page. Could decide to, add a list of like priorities. So for example, I could go up to here, 1, and then below, let's go back. Sorry, I pressed space a bit too early. So if I were to go, sorry, a bit premature pressing space. You can press there, press 2. So you could say, second biggest thing is to clean the garden fully for viewing. I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's quite a good way to actually create these pages. And you can go in and modify them there. Very useful indeed. So if I just were to briefly add a task, so for example, in this case, I could say, plan house move. You can start to see that I can also connect them up. So for example, if I was like, okay, let's connect this one up to house move, because of that's something to do with the house move. If I go to go back and I were to actually create a page inside of this, you can see that there's a link to house move that is created here. So that's how to create a sort of basic initial link and to give you a bit of an idea. But this is quite a cool sort of little attractive page. As I said, you could probably change aspects of this if you wanted to go roundy with the font. You can do. This might be nicer because the round font actually relates to the card fun format, which I could create. And as you can see there, you could create pages from each one that you've got. Same going down here as well. So if I wanted to set them out a little bit more, sort of like, boom, these are the tasks I need to get done, then you could have them a bit more clear if you want to. But I quite liked that original sort of mono font up here. So that's a little bit of a task area, and you can see here, so if I were to just shuffle this up, because what it does is it creates a page preview on the home page. So you can start to see that they're sort of bleeding through, which is quite cool. So the thing that I wanted to say with widgets is, like, you could have an area on your home page retrospectively of things like this. So for example, if you wanted to create a block reference, you could, for example, you could say edit list of YouTube, there we go. So you could create like a block reference here that would obviously allow you to quickly jump in to that and open that up. So now we've done with tasks, you might want to start building out your home page a little bit more. So for example, if you press the / command, you could insert some media. Say down here, you could have a nice picture that would appear in line. Just below it, you could have a quick review area. For example, things you routinely access. In this case, I'm just linking a few using what's already inside the documents. So if you wanted routine stuff that you quickly access, you could quickly use this as a way to jump through all of the hoops. But it's easier if you've already built a section that keeps growing and continues to expand. So here we are inside of the notes area. Let's go ahead and create some notes. So in this case, you may want to say meeting. So you could say at, this is quite a quick way of creating notes. You could say create meeting notes with Sarah Walker. And as you can see here, this is actually, when you do it, is not created inside the account. You can see it's actually created in a separate area. But if you wanted to create it inside of here, all you'd have to do is this instead. So if you said meeting with Sarah Walker, you could go ahead and turn that into a page. So what might be useful is if you wanted to create a separate note to something like a journal that you may be creating that you might want as a separate document. So in this case, you could say that would be the journal there, but you can also create that into a card. That links out, however, it's still very useful to be able to access. The card format still works as well. And if you wanted to have a very basic setup, you could do. I'd recommend if you had the card ability, you could probably create a really nice structure to this, and you can naturally navigate back fairly quickly. So I'd recommend probably using a very visual approach to this, maybe even using some of the decorations to highlight certain elements of them. You could even use the colors to specifically section off areas, and even use the font to change the font in the page. So notes are actually fairly simple. You could connect them up. In this case, as you can see, I connected up the Sarah Walker one with the journal notes, and as you can see, that's referenced there. But notes really are an easy way to get started. You can have them as either sort of long panes or ones that you can come back to. One thing that might be useful, especially when you're building a home, is if you had for example, a page that you created called like project progress or something like this. I don't know. This could be in your projects area, but if I were to go and add some content, so I could say we have, or we could say team success 55%. And as you can see there, you're probably thinking that's not as sort of meaningful or very useful. But if I went back to the homepage and I wanted to use this within the referencing area here, because I want to quickly access this, I could say and type in team success 55%. Now, the main reason I say to do this, or say to potentially do this, is, for example, let's say somebody updated it, or I updated it in the future, and I wanted to see the progress. You could see that instantly updates itself, and actually the preview just shows it quite nicely. So that's something to note, to maybe consider, is if you've got these pages which already have notes or things that you want to reference in the homepage, that's something you can do. The same goes with the pages area. You can build this out and make it look pretty good. One thing I'd recommend is actually go ahead and create. So one thing I'd actually recommend is when you're creating pages, the best thing to do is actually just create all the titles of them first, and then go to page and create them all as pages. In this case, I'll probably keep them as a list view. The same goes with notes. If you have the ability to create all your notes at once, this is probably quite good. Here's an example of how you could convert them all to cards. So if I selected all three, press cards, and I decided to go with something like this, you can see that instantly creates it in a very visual and attractive format. One other thing you could do is, if you wanted to and you were like more of a linear person, you could, for example, create sections. So in this case, obviously all of these notes relate to today. So I could say slash command today and the time, slash command the time. And you could see there, and give it a title. And for example, you could create all of the notes for today and tomorrow. Actually, in this case, I'm going to go, these could be yesterday. And you could say slash time now. And you could select them there. So if I wanted to, that's quite a visual way that I could organize. And that way I can actually have stuff that is associated by time. Obviously you won't be able to find that specifically, but when it comes to organizing the notes, it might be useful, especially when you're having such a centralized area. So a bit of a summary. So we've got a task area now that you can create and link to your projects and basically start listing out very basic tasks. A notes area where you could have a very linear structure to your notes, and a projects or task area, where you could start building that out. Quite a cool little homepage, if I'm honest. Very simple, very Dropbox paper-like, but has a really nice ability with the cards to really make it a lot more attractive. Now, some small things you could do. You could add focus decorations to these guys, and you could, actually you could go into a very high level of detail here if you want to. Don't add bullet points to it, but you can just see the sort of concepts you can have behind it. That probably wouldn't look very nice. And as you can see here, quick sort of review could be if you were to quickly convert these all into tasks. You can create them all into toggles. So just take advantage of the multi-select abilities and also some of the titling and styling. Let's see if there's any other minor modifications that I'd make to an account. No, I'm pretty sure I'm happy with that. It looks quite cool. If I would change one thing, it would probably be that I could add a nice, attractive looking sort of line in here instead of one of the ones that are a bit sort of aggressive. So there we go. If I just bring that block out of the way, you can start to see it looking a little bit neater as an account. But these are sort of three main pages and how to build a little bit of a craft homepage. Hopefully that was useful, guys. I thought it was quite cool in terms of setup. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. I will happily help you. I hope you enjoyed this course. I will be adding more to it, as you can imagine, but huge appreciation. Share it with your friends if you enjoyed it, and a big thank you from me. Cheers, everyone. Bye.